Good evening and welcome to week 6. My name again is Paul Scott, and we're going to talk this week about the rehearsal process and about working with actors. Um, as I've said in several of my entries on Canvas, I've been working on a farce at the local community college as an assistant director, and we actually just finished our run this afternoon. And I have learned so much from that that seems relevant to the topic this week. So, in terms of tech and dress rehearsals, I've said before that one of my favorite theater terms is sitzprobe, which is when in a musical, when the orchestra plays with the actors for the first time. And tech rehearsal, to me, is an awful lot like a sitzprobe. So you've been working with your technical designers, your lighting, and your sound folks, and they've been largely independently planning for lighting and sound cues and coming up with different sounds and music to incorporate into the show. And the tech rehearsals are really the first opportunity you have to sort of marry all that together. My experience with this last show was we sat down for our first tech rehearsal, and to be perfectly honest, the lighting was horrible. It was very uneven. It didn't seem like the lighting director and crew had been concerned about covering all areas of the stage. And it pointed out the importance of having a tech rehearsal with actors, because it's really the first time, other than a production run through a couple of weeks earlier, where those technical folks got a chance to see what the actors were doing and where they were when they were doing it. So I learned a tremendous amount working with the director to how to work with lighting folks, to get the effects that we wanted, to support the theme that we were looking for in different times in the play, and still technically just be able to see the actors wherever they were on the stage. So same thing with sound. Something's too loud, something's too quiet. This actor is distracted by a sound in the script. What sound are we going to choose for that distraction, and where is it going to come from? We had a lot of doorbells and dialogue off stage that needed to be heard, and so sound was a very important part of the production that we were doing. Obviously, in a musical, it's going to be even more important. Excuse me. I worked on a production of Spring Awakening years ago, and thankfully, I was just an actor as opposed to a technical designer, because making sure that people in the audience can hear both the music and the lyrics and understand them is a monumental feat. So tech rehearsals, again, critical. Dress rehearsals are similar in that it gives the costume designer the first opportunity to see how the clothes he or she has designed and in some cases created look on stage in the lighting that's been established at the tech rehearsal, and check for fit, check for, again, theme. And so dress rehearsals also are the first time that actors really get to embody their characters. I know that whenever I'm acting in a production, the first time you put on that full costume and go out on stage, it's a completely different feeling from any rehearsal you had before. And so it's a time that actors get excited for. It's a critical time for costume designers and hair and makeup designers if you have them. And as a director, it gives you a chance to see the closest thing that's going to be to the final product. So working with actors was an important part of the reading for this week. And again, I learned so much in my first directing experience on this production we just finished. The most important function of the director is to solve problems. And it could be a movement problem. I need this actor to be entering this door at this time. What do I need to do before that to ensure that they're in place to do it? So there are sort of technical questions like that about movement and being true to what the author, the playwright, is describing in the script. But then working with the actors themselves about their performances is a much more delicate exercise. And so I found myself copying the director, my mentor, in terms of how he conducts rehearsals, taking copious notes, giving notes to actors in a way that makes them not feel attacked or criticized, that it tries to lead them to the conclusion and to the performance that I would like to see, but leaving it up to them to figure out the way to get there. That's one particular style of directing that I appreciate and thrive with. I've worked with other directors who just say it like this, which I don't think is the most helpful. But if you can encourage your actors to align their performances with your vision of the show without strong arming them, then I think you've reached a pretty good balance in terms of directing. Working on a comedy, I found myself surprisingly asking actors to slow down with their lines in order to make sure that the jokes came through for the audience. Most of the time, I think we spend time asking actors to increase the pace of their performance so that we take out the air and the audience isn't sort of left wondering what's going to happen next. But with a comedy, I was surprised that there were many jokes in the script that I felt like the actors were just sort of going past, and I kept finding myself saying, give this line a little bit of room. Give the audience a chance to hear this, because it's a good joke and that's what they're paying for. They want to hear the good jokes. So that was surprising to me in terms of notes that I would give to actors. And finally, I would say in terms of conflict, our stage manager actually came up with a pretty good system. I'm sure, well, maybe it is original, but it may not be. But he established one person in the male cast and one person in the female part of the cast to be the person, if there is a conflict, who the other actors would go to, and then and feel safe about it. And then that person would go to the stage manager if something needed to be escalated, and then the stage manager would go to the director if something needed to be escalated further. And what that did was, and the cast decided on their own who those representatives were within their own ranks. So it established a procedure for dealing with conflict if there is a conflict with the actors. And because they chose their own representatives, we have a better chance of them feeling safe going to that person and achieving a good outcome. So the reading this week, it was very interesting in terms of how to deal with rehearsals and dealing with actors. And I must say that it coincided very well with the production that I just finished, because a lot of the techniques and things that were discussed were things that I was sort of learning on the job as I was going through my first directing experience. So thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next week.